Hey everyone, welcome to BrickVault. This blurry image is turning into the Tantive IV set number 75244. It is a massive, massive model coming in at 1,768 parts, and it sells for roughly $200 in the States, €200, 180 pounds. And by the way, before I get any further into this review, I do want to say thank you to the LEGO group for sending this set to us early to do a review for you guys. So here it is in its entirety. It is an updated version, I would say, of the 2009 Tantive, though there are some striking differences about the overall ship design here. So I'm not going to say this is anything like how they updated the Death Star from before. This is actually a pretty different model compared to what we saw from the 2009 Tantive. We do have that 2009 Tantive set. We're going to be doing a full comparison, and you're going to see what this looks like next to our micro scale fleet, because due to a very happy accident, all the micro scale ships that we build here in the studio, this thing fits pretty much exact. It's almost 100%. I think it's one stud off. So that's great that this fits in with the micro scale. But once again, like we always do with these reviews, let's get into the minifigs first. Now, of course, you gotta start off with Princess Leia. This is the most complete version of Leia that we see from A New Hope, so I'm really, really happy with this fig. I feel like the designers absolutely made sure to make her look her best for this. She's got that new updated dress piece that minifigs now have that is no longer one of those just little slope pieces that doesn't stick very well into the torso. It's specially made, and it means you can print onto the back. So the flowing gown matches up with the back print there. You can even see the hood and her belt. Super, super nice. Let's just see her expression. That's her basic expression. We've gotten this combination of prints from Leia before, so that's nothing new. Really, the only thing new, I think, is the gown piece, because we did get, I think, that top torso print from that little Luke and Leia Death Star set that came out not that long ago. So good job on you guys for getting a matching dress piece to go with this fig. It really looks good. It's the best version of the New Hope Leia that we've ever gotten. By the way, it does come with alternate leg pieces if you wanted to use them, though I doubt you will. Now, I think you guys might be most excited about getting the first version of Bail Organa. We've never had him as a character, as a minifigure before, and I think they did a great job. He's got the slightly darker flesh tone, which matches up with them. This detailing is based on what he looks like from Rogue One. There might be some creative liberty to that, but I'm pretty sure this is basically what he looks like. Let's see what that back print looks like. Righto, so it's just a pretty basic little bit of shoulder pad printing, really, not too much, and that is also his alternate expression. Good expressions, good print all around, and you'll also notice that this is not a soft cloth cape. It is one of the older capes that's a little bit more stiff. I feel like they did that because this exists in this color, in this olive green, and maybe they just didn't want to go ahead and make a soft cloth olive green cape for this minifig. I'm not totally sure. I don't think they're abandoning soft cloth, but this is the older, stiffer version. They've also included Captain Antilles in this set, and I gotta say, the detailing for him is pretty darn good. He's got a bunch of pockets in the front. You can see his captain insignia there on his shirt. There's a little bit of reflective printing for both the insignia and his belt, and some basic printing that goes along the back. I really like this mold, though, just the general mold that we've gotten for a lot of those Rebel Fleet Troopers, I think is how you call them. There's his alternate expression. He looks very not happy. This is, of course, probably when he encounters Darth Vader, something like that. And yeah, so he looks pretty good. This is funny. If you see the expressions of the original Captain Antilles, he does have a similar combination, so I'm glad that they sort of stayed true to that. And yeah, he's a pretty solid looking guy. And the same goes with the Fleet Trooper there. He's got some basic pocket prints that go along for the vest. He's also got a blaster rifle, a little bit more printing on the back, which I like. And it looks like he's got that's actually maybe his primary expression, and then this is when he's he's getting into the hallway battle perhaps with Darth Vader. So really solid looking trooper. And of course, C-3PO is in the game. He has entered the game. This is basically the same version of C-3PO that we always get. I'm assuming, I haven't actually checked, maybe it's a different combination of wires on his torso. I doubt it though. I think it's just the baseline version of C-3PO that has been coming down the line quite a bit. And the same can be said about R2. If he ain't broke, don't fix him. The prints are still good. This one looks a little lopsided on his head just for this particular version, you know, just this particular single guy. I think it's just hard for that printing press to get those astromech droid heads to be perfectly even. But anyways, he's the same version of R2 that we've gotten plenty of times before. Righto, now it's time to get into all the details of this model, talk about its pros and cons compared to the 2009 version. There are things about this model that I think are much, much better than the one from 2009, while I do think certain, usually smaller details from the 2009 older Tantive might have actually had an edge. So let's see if I can get them both in the same shot at the same time. I think I can. Let's move that camera back a little bit, and there you basically have it. So this is 2009. This is the new model. First off, overall proportions from afar, this looks better in my opinion. It's certainly proportionally more accurate. We're all about proportional accuracy here in the studio. So that's probably a number one really, really good thing. Also, this is way stronger through and through. Touching this model, you can just feel more areas are a little bit loose. Things flap around a little bit easier. It's actually not a weak model and things don't really break off of it too much, but in general, there definitely are parts of this model that feel a little bit easier to break off and a little bit more flimsy. So, stronger, it's bigger from afar. Those are probably, I mean, hands down, the fact that this thing looks good, looks better as a display, that's almost like the biggest proportion. But let me get into some of the details and talk about some of the specific things about the two different models. But let me get a little bit closer and talk about the specific details of the two models and specifically what I think is better about this in certain areas than compared to the 2009 one. So in terms of pros, the first thing I want to point out is that right here, the neck is actually, there's a lot more space between the hammerhead shape of the Tantive and the rest of the body. This neck is actually much longer, it's much smoother, it looks a lot nicer. This is probably one of the primary things that adds to the proportional accuracy of the model. This area is actually a little bit more narrow, as well as the top part of this ridge line that comes along between these two slanted slopes is more narrow than the original model, also more accurate, and it looks better. It just, I mean, if you start taking a look at the pictures of any of the original models or anything like that, it just looks nicer. There's more space between these little side pods here and the engines, and there's also actually space for these side-built slope pieces, which too, more accurate. There's just more proportional accuracy here, and it's not so cramped. And if I can, I'm trying to not run the head into a light that's off screen, but there's a much bigger gap between these engines on the side. Right here, specifically, is what I'm pointing out. There is actually a huge gap. Let's see if I can flip it around to the other side. Yeah, much better. Much bigger gap between the engines, which is a lot more accurate. In fact, this detailing here and this detailing here, this is actually really accurate. If you look at the original models, there is a similar kind of series of shapes, and that goes without saying for all the detailing in the back. So now let's jump here. I also think this is a better approach for detailing. The original 2009 model has these kind of concaved areas, which look cool. It just doesn't look as accurate as this, and I also love that we just get all these extra bits of greebling pieces here at the top. So I'm just glad because it looks better, it's more accurate, and you get a lot more cool pieces in case you wanted to part this thing down at any point. So I think just going across the board, there's a lot of good things. Also these gun pieces here, these little ski pieces, they're smaller, they look better. So just across the board, proportionally, there's just massive improvements made to this updated model. So now in front of us is the 2009 version. I just want to point out the differences. Right, you can see that this is much shorter, it's a lot more blocky. This is wider, in fact, and this part proportionally is much wider, which does not look nearly as good. There's a few other minor things that I did point out in terms of upgraded detailing, like I think the 2019 version has just better detailing here, but right, there's like almost no space between the engines. In fact, you can see a bit of weird little Technic connection points, and the spaces between these engines here, it's a little bit thicker. It just doesn't look as accurate. So there's portions there, yeah, you can see in general that it doesn't match up quite as well. But what I do want to point out, now that we've got the 2009 model, there are things about this that are a little bit more accurate and a little bit better, maybe, than the 2019 one. Namely, this piece is printed here at the top, printed piece at the top, which looks so much better. I mean, everybody likes printed pieces, so that's nice. And I also think that the head here is proportionally sized a little bit better. When the 2019 model comes in, probably the weakest point of the 19 model is the fact that they increased the head, ballooned it up a bit because they wanted just a little bit more detailing for the inside of the cockpit of the Tantive. It throws off the proportions a bit, but because that's one bit of proportion that's off on the 2019 model, I can't dock it too much, though the head in proportion to the body does look better on the 2009 model. In terms of other bits of, I think, things that look a little bit better, the engines here are gray, while the back of the engines of the updated model are way too dark. The original model of the Tantive just has this as totally white, while the edges are a little bit burned because it's the ends of the thrusters. So that's how it looks, and that's why they made it darker here with the light bluish gray, but they made it way too dark on the new model, so I don't think that's an improvement. What else? There's not too much more else about this model. Maybe some of the interior here. I'll get into the interior later, but generally speaking, on the outside, oh yeah, also these little fins here. First of all, I don't think this detailing looks good. They did the same thing on the other one. Both of that detailing doesn't really look that great, but these are at least still angled on the bottom, while the angles on 2019 are straight. Righto, now we're back with the 2019 model. Before we jump into the interior, I just wanted to show you guys the last of the features. So this is the main one. There is a handle. It's pretty much at center weight. It maybe wants to dip forward ever so slightly, but the designer did actually add this little bit of extra Technic, really strong area. So when you grab it with your fingers in the front, you're actually holding it slightly forward from where this bar comes in and out, which pretty much gives it a center weight here. So that's nice. It's super strong, swooshable. This is actually very swooshable, which is great. I mean, I personally am not going to be swooshing a model like this around. Now let's get into the interior. First thing is first, we've got the head. You can actually see the stickers there. Even the white doesn't quite match up with the white of this plastic, which makes me a little bit suspicious. Give this model a few years and that might actually yellow out a bit. I know LEGO says that it doesn't yellow out like it used to. But anyways, yeah, this is one thing. I don't know why they had to make the head so much bigger, because the interior, there's just all this space. It's the same thing as 2 seats as the last one. It's just there's more open space around it. So you've got this little bit for the seat. In fact, you know what? I actually attached this wrong. Oh, dang it. And then I pulled this little piece off. I actually attached that wrong. If you look at the other seat, I did it right. There we go. This is actually supposed to be the way it is. And let me spin it around. There's just a little bit of print detailing for fitting your pilots down there. And let me turn it all the way. And yes, you can see both of the seats are there on either side. So that's it for the interior. I really don't think that they should have added a bigger head or maybe even brick built a head that was slightly smaller, because it's a lot of wasted space in my opinion. And before I forget, we do have a couple of spring-loaded shooters right in the front as an extra added play feature. To activate the spring-loaded shots, you can see these little plungers that are going to end up pushing against the shots here at the bottom. You can also move some turrets around here, and I also wanted to point out just up there that this little thing ratchets around. You've got the guns here at the top, and then also a couple of stud guns that are not so subtly hidden, but also easily removable if you don't really like having that exposed play feature at the top. So those are some play features. Now let's get into the main bridge. I know I said bridge, but it's not the bridge. This thing studs off. It's pretty simple. There's 2 studs here and then a single one here. So I guess they must have tested that out and figured having 2 studs on that end is a little bit too much resistance. But anyways, here is the main interior. Now I gotta say, I don't know if this actually looks better than the 2009 version. There's 2 seats that face each other. You can also place things here, like maybe holocron figs would be cool if they had like an extra figure for that. I know they did one for the Emperor. This is another little table, not quite the chessboard circular table, but you've got that couple of little stickers to, you know, just show off some electronic detailing, I guess. And that's basically it. You've got a little clip for binoculars on this side, but pretty bare bones. To contrast that with the 2009 version of the ship, there's actually more space here, so you can fit more things. But I just like the table. It actually looks like a legit command spot right here, and there's even more electronic detailing on the inside, and they added even a blue floor mat detailing. There's just a little bit more color, and this actually feels a lot more fun and a little bit better to place minifigs on the inside of. You can take this out. I don't even know. I guess it's an escape pod. It just kind of looks nicer. I like that it's green and everything, and it kind of fits in at this weird little funny angle, and you can have a fig fit in there. I like that area. And then technically these can break away. And yeah, I guess you could fit figs on the inside, though that isn't really a play feature so much on the original 2009 set. Jumping back to 2019, this area pops off, and on the inside, it's just a little storage unit area, maybe a little bit more useful actually than the 2009 version, just having a couple of extra spring-loaded shots fitting in there, so you don't lose any of those extra play features. And here, you can actually break these off, and they're meant to be broken off, and there's a little roof section, and it's smooth and whatever. There's nothing on the inside, but they do kind of make it built in a way where you know that you're supposed to be taking these off and playing with them. They're kind of like the escape pods jettisoning off. Oh my gosh, why is this not? There we go. Why is this? There we go. Yes, and let's see if I can pull the other one out. It's no different on the inside, but yeah, you can take these off. These are built in a way where you're supposed to want to be able to take them off and play with them. And now moving further back, I do like the engines overall more. I think this detailing's better. I like this extra bit of greebling. I don't know how accurate that necessarily is, but also the engines here are more circular for a longer period of time. They're actually longer. When you look at the 2009 version, I'll just show them off at the same time. They're blocky almost up until the very end, and then they kind of circle off. And I don't like that as much. I think this looks much cooler here. So yeah, these are just some basic more comparisons. And to just, I suppose, conclude my final comparison thoughts, just to reiterate kind of what I said in the beginning, proportionally, this looks a lot better. It's longer, it just means that certain proportional areas of the ship get to be accentuated in a way that makes more sense, makes the ship look more like the ship. The head, though, I feel like this head on that body might actually look a little bit better, or maybe something a little bit in between these two sizes maybe would be like perfect accuracy, but that does feel a little bit balloony. This one feels proportionally more accurate, just the head, but ultimately the entire body here works a lot better. All right, so now I'm going to give you guys my final thoughts, and then at the very end of the video, I'm going to show you guys what this Tantive looks like next to the rest of the micro scale fleet. Minifigs are great. I think the 3 exclusives are awesome here with Captain Antilles, Leia, and the first version of Bail Organa. Proportionally, this thing looks better. It looks better as a display model altogether. The detailing is better, it's stronger, it's more playable. It basically beats the 2009 version in all the categories, I would say. Con is that the head is a little bit too big. The interior is not very exciting. The back is too dark. These dark wheel pieces are a little bit too dark. But that's all relatively minor stuff. Any of the cons on this are all sort of minor, minus the head. I am a little bummed about that. But yeah, so ultimately, pretty darn good. I think the price point is pretty much what you would expect for a set this size. I'm glad that they didn't put some of the pieces into a weird little side builds that nobody wanted. They just focused completely on the ship, gave us some cool figs. That's it. Good job. Let's get it into the light studio. Sorry, let's get it into the display case. And righto, this is basically what the Tantive IV would look like compared to all these other ships. Every other little micro ship that you see here is pretty much on the exact same level. I think I measured it out, and this is, assuming this is 150 meters long like it says on Wikipedia, this thing would be exact micro scale size compared to everything else. Granted, if we were to build this ourselves, we'd probably detail this out in a different way to just kind of enhance the details and maybe bring down some of the play features, obviously. But anyways, yeah, so you get a pretty good idea just to how big a blockade runner like this actually looks. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy our content, you can always like or subscribe, and we'll see you next time at BrickVault. Hey everybody, just popping in very quickly. Like to let you guys know we've got ourselves a LEGO web store that is www.brickvault.toys, where we sell the PDF step-by-step instructions for some incredibly high quality LEGO MOCs. It's absolutely worth checking out. The revenue from the web store helps support us here at the channel, as well as the designers that put these amazing builds together. So anyways, that's www.brickvault.toys. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you next time at BrickVault.